So about a week ago, I did a blog that was called Why Your EVP Evidence is Bogus and Not the Voice of a Ghost. And I got a lot of replies through email, through private messages, on Facebook, also on my blog, having concerns about this blog post that I've written. And so I decided to make a video to address some of these questions and comments. So the first thing I want to say, I'm not trying to debunk all of EVP and saying, well, it's all bullshit and there's nothing to it. In fact, if you go down into the description on this video, I'm going to put some links up there on scientific papers that have been done on EVP. Yes, there are some that are saying that it's bullshit, but there are also some that are saying it's a legitimate phenomenon. I think anybody that's been serious about this topic has heard about the work of Alexander MacRae, and there's a couple of others that are also kind of interesting. Check them out. Personally, I'm on the fence. I'm not 100% convinced they're the voices of ghosts, but I don't think we can prove that yet. I think we can attempt to prove that maybe they're anomalous, mysterious, but that's as far as we can go. What's happening now is this. People have been watching these TV shows since what, 2005? And they've seen EVP being done, and they're grabbing their cell phones and they're turning them on and they're recording something, not understanding what they're hearing. They send it off to a paranormal team who then does an analysis and tells them it's a ghost. And the family eventually freaks out, or it creates a whole bunch of other drama and crap. I've dealt with this lately here, and that's kind of why it's so fresh in my mind. The thing about in my article is there's a blatant misunderstanding of signal to noise ratio and how that's being interpreted as electronic voice phenomenon. In fact, there's this hypothesis out there that's been there forever that ghost voices are in these very low frequencies, and that's where you look. Saw that on Ghost Labs. They started propagating it even, but that's not what it is. This is a known thing that people should understand. You've experienced it. I guarantee you have. If you've been in your car or out in your neighborhood and a car goes by and you hear that poof, poof, poof from the bass, you can't hear no treble. Well, that's because the lower frequencies are propagating further than the higher frequencies, so there's no treble. This happens in audio recordings too. So if there's a car going by on the street, the bass frequencies can hit your recorder, and that's what happened in this particular instance that I was talking about. So that was the gist of it. Now, some of the questions I got, one was, well, how can I learn how to do this stuff with Pratt? And unfortunately, the answer I have for you is probably not what you're going to want to hear. You got to understand, this is like a college course. It's becoming a linguist. You're talking 4 years of college to learn the basics to do all this crap. However, I can kind of set you in the right direction. Down in the comments, I also put some links to some videos here on YouTube that describe some basics. The first one basically talks about spectrograms, what they are, and more information on the program PROT and how to use it. The second video actually tells you how to plot vowels in PROT. So it's a nice, good, beginning anyway. I'm by no means not an expert. I'm learning from people that are more knowledgeable, that have shown me, stuff, and I'm just trying to pass that information on. Another thing that I was asked is, hey, this software shit's way the hell over my head. Is there a simpler way? Well, yes, there is. It's not as effective, but there is another way we can help eliminate this kind of stuff. When you're talking about science, it's all about variables, and you have to account for those variables. You either have to eliminate them or you have to put a control to monitor them. And what we can do are start applying controls. Now, this is kind of old. A lot of groups have been doing this for a while, but apparently not everybody's aware of it. But when you're doing audio recording, you should have additional recorders placed around. For example, if I was going to do audio recording right here where I'm at right now, what I would do is I would set up my recorder, place another recorder 25 feet that way, another one 25 feet behind me, one 25 feet this way, one 25 feet that way. And once I got done with my recording, I could then sync these files up. I listened to the recorder that I was doing the work on here, and if I think I hear something mysterious, then I can go and check the other recorders to make sure it was not a noise in the environment that was causing the entire thing. Now, if you want to get really hardcore on this stuff, you can do something called sound mapping. And it's kind of similar to controls, but the point of it is it's an actual more of a precise method of knowing where to put controls. Again, it's pretty easy. You have your source recorder. The source recorder is the person asking questions. That's what they're talking into. Take something like a boombox or a CD player, something like that, that you can set the volume on. Say we set on volume of 7. And then go to the next room, turn on your recorder. Okay, this is our first test. The room to the north, 3, 2, 1, boom, they play it, and repeat with the area around. And then you can immediately analyze the files, amp it up, and if you see any remnant of that sound that you were playing on the tape recorder, or whatever, then you gotta have control over there. It's also kind of neat because you can actually figure out if there is an erroneous noise, something that's weird that's out there coming in, the sound of a car, person snoring in their bed at night, whatever the hell it is. You can actually pinpoint what direction it is by looking at the amplitude in the waveform. So that's that. The final question I got is, how can we use things like PROT and signal to noise ratio to improve upon our analysis techniques of audio? And that's actually a little bit tricky. I think we've got to stop and back up, and we need to refine some things, because a lot of stuff is being taken for granted off hypotheses that have been out there but have never been proven. So what I would suggest that we do as a community would be, first of all, make sure that we're using pro audio recording equipment. There was something I was trying to prepare for this, and unfortunately I can't find it, but it was a couple of audio files that I took when I was in Gettysburg. And they were doing EVP, you know, the kind where you turn the recorder on, you wait, you know, ask the question, wait a few seconds, and then you play it back. And when they played it back, they were asking, is there a spirit here? And you very clearly hear a response, yes. Well, our control recorder, which was pro audio equipment, when we went to that same spot where the yes answer was, it clearly picks up a dog howling. And there's no doubt that's what it is. Commercial grade equipment is going to be prone to glitches and prone to errors. So first step, use pro audio equipment. That way we have high definition audio samples. Second thing that we need to do is to use controls. We have to be transparent. And one of the standards for that is, we think we get an EVP, we check the controls around the area. That way we can provide the burden of proof that it's not one of our investigators, it's not a noise in the environment, whatever. Third thing I think we need to do is to trash the present classification system. For those of you not familiar with this, EVPs are classified either as Class A, Class B, or Class C. Class A are nice, clear voices that you can hear well. B, you can hear them, they might be hard to make out, but at least they're audible. C basically means crap, everything else, that's worthless, it's all based upon hearing. I think what we need to do instead is to refine that to a new technique of asking questions. For example, I say we just have, let's say type A, type B. Type A, you're asking a direct question and you're expecting a specific answer. If we know what the answer is supposed to be, and we're getting veridical information back through the anomalous voice, then there's more of a proof to say that this is actually some kind of communication. For example, 20 miles south of here is Fort Craig, a big fort that was here in New Mexico in the Civil War. If I went there and I was going to ask the question, who is your commanding officer? I would expect the answer, Colonel Canby. Now, I would also accept Colonel, I might even accept Canby. But now if I got the reply, Edward, okay, that's not as veridical, it's close, we'll call that a type B EVP. But the bottom line, the focus has to be on veridical information being pulled back and forth. If it's random shit, who's your commanding officer? dead, bed, what the hell? It's not good enough. Class C, we need just to learn to walk away from. It's crap and it's dirty data. In any scientific field, and I'm not saying ghost hunting is a scientific field, don't get me wrong, but in a real scientific field, dirty data will skew results and it will trash whatever research they're doing. And I think we ought to follow that example and just ignore the dirty data. Now the point of this is we get enough teams doing this and we're getting nice, high quality samples that we can pretty much prove are anomalous because the controls are clear. Then we can take all of these and start analyzing them and seeing, is there anything to it? There's a researcher by the name of Presci, and I put his paper down in the description as well. He's actually used Pratt and analyzed EVP voices, and I want to show you some of his results. And here's what he's saying about the EVP voices. The thing with this, though, before I tell you, is I haven't seen a formal research paper, nor have I seen a proper peer review of his work. So I'm thinking this is kind of, we might want to do this ourselves if we're getting enough people involved. So the first thing he has on here is, in these EVP voices, modulation of signals changing mainly in amplitude instead of frequency. That's something different that a human voice wouldn't do. He says the formants visibly limited to F1, F2 only. That's interesting because that's kind of what you would also see with signal to noise ratio being thrown out of whack, but something again to look at. Vibrations of vocal cords detectable in short intervals only. Again, not something that's common in human voice. Abnormal fluctuations of voice frequency ranges. That's vague, but more detail on that would be interesting. He says they have poor melodic and harmonic contents. The vowels are expanded in time. The voice reverberation differs from the one existing in the room or the area where they're recording. High content of noise and significant aperiodicity of the signals, meaning they're intermittent. Impossibility for the software to construct a model of the vocal tract due to low influence of overglottal organs or resonators. So in other words, they can't reconstruct a vocal tract of the EVP voices, which you can do with a human voice. And finally, jitter values indicate the presence of possible dysphonias. I think I'm saying that right, dysphonias or something like that. Anyway, I looked this up because this is over my head at this point. This is a condition where the vocal tract is not able to make voice type sounds. And so that's kind of interesting. Anyway, can we get data and check this shit out for ourselves and see if that's there? Then we would be able to tell if something's actually anomalous. This is real EVP. It's not, you know, a car passing by or somebody talking upstairs or whatever. So I think that got it for most of the stuff that's already been put out there. You got any questions, any comments, please put them down in the comment section. I'll do my best to address them. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.